I started to become I was very angry. I was for a long time. I had to deal with that, and I just thought to myself, like, why would you, blame game? I was blaming him for everything going wrong in my life. Like, oh, maybe if you would have been a man and stayed with your family, maybe we wouldn't be here. Maybe the family would have split up. Maybe we all been, what if, Yeah, I became kind of bitter, not kind of bitter. I became bitter and very angry at him and kind of at my mom too, but then Pastor preached a sermon one time like talking about forgiveness and stuff, and so I did tell her, I was like, Mom, I forgive you for hurting me and stuff, and that did help. It healed my heart, but I was still angry at my stepdad.
Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Talk that talk. 2 planes on the runway. 2 destinations. Heaven or hell. They taking off someday. Could be Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday. So get saved before that one day. Listen to that one way show. Yeah.
Welcome to a one-way podcast. I'm your host, Angel Ariola, and today we have Adamari with us. And so we're going to go ahead and just jump straight into it. So just share with us how long you've been saved and how you heard about the church.
Okay. Hello, my name is Adamari. I'm 19. I've been saved for going on 7 years in January. Sorry. The way I heard about the church was so my mom had first gotten saved. She had gotten saved way back when. And so we started coming with her. We were like 7 or 8. And then we had left the church for a bit, and then we came back. And I mean, I understood, oh, we go to church, we hear the word, blah, blah, blah. I didn't understood like the gospel and stuff. I just thought, okay, we're going to church again. And so, but then as I got older, I would sit there in church and I would hear, I would hear pastors say sometimes, uh, like different things, like, yeah, certain, like, I don't know. It's just like, I would try to comfort myself because pastor would sometimes say like, oh yeah, kids, like, if kids, like, God has mercy on, like, kids and stuff, if they would die, they would go to heaven. So I thought, oh, I'm okay, I don't need Jesus. But honestly, if you understand the word, if you know right from wrong, then
Right.
then you know what you should do. And so then I was just like, okay, I'm good, I don't need Jesus anyways. And so then as I got older, to middle school, I didn't drink or smoke or do drugs, or I wasn't a crazy sinner. I thought I didn't need Jesus. I thought I was fine. I was good.
You're a good
Yeah,
sinner.
I was a good sinner. I'm not like those crazy people. I don't need Jesus. I'm good. Um, but deep down, I did. I was broken. I was angry at my mom, at my dad. For not being there. I was an angry person. But as much as I wanted to hide it, I couldn't, because it was in there. And it felt like I was empty inside. Even at a young age, I knew that something was missing, and I knew it was Jesus, but I was just too stubborn to admit it and like get saved. And so, as I got as just like years went on, I was always looking for like acceptance and like friends and boys and stuff, and I just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, like I was loved and stuff. And so then in 2018, that's when I got saved. Yeah, in 2018, I got saved for a revival. I don't remember exactly what the preaching was said, but I remember realizing like, dang, I need to get saved because I'm gonna go to hell, and I might not do like drugs and stuff like bad sin, but still, I'm still wrong. And so I knew the way that my heart would be filled, like that void, that hole would be filled, was to give my life to Jesus. And so I ended up giving my life to Jesus. That was I believe in 7th grade. Yeah, in 7th grade, like it was the beginning or middle of 7th grade. Yeah. And so it was the 8th grade year came. It was, I was still understanding, getting, being saved. Obviously you can't do this, that. I started watching. I felt a difference. I did. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, let me do this and this just so I can be your friend and be accepted. Like I knew like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore because I know Jesus loves me. I don't need to go look for love because I know someone loves me. And so and then COVID hit in 8th grade year during spring break. So then we went, uh, went home, no more school. So for like 2 years, it was easy, like there was not no temptations, you were just at home. You didn't have to worry. And so I was like, good, it was fine. And then we went back to school, and my sophomore year, it wasn't as hard, but it was, yeah, it wasn't as hard. I have to say it wasn't hard, being saved and in high school my sophomore year because everyone, wore masks. Everyone was scared to talk to each other. Like it was very easy to me, But then junior year came and it started getting hard because everyone, now you're making friends and now you're talking to more people. And so, my junior year was a little more, harder, making boundaries, making stands against things, like friends, like, oh, I don't do that. I don't believe in that. Or, just different things. Being invited to parties, but like, oh no, I don't, I don't drink and party and stuff. That's no. And so it was hard, like, because you're in your mind, you're like, oh, I want to fit in so bad. But then, deep down, you're like, no, I don't need to, why? There's no reason. Because then I'm going to go back to that empty old self I was. And so, then that was, my junior year. And then some other stuff, some stuff happened in my life, I was starting to go to church, by myself. Because then my mom had backslid, and then my brother and sister had already. My sister graduated, and then my brother, he had been graduated, so he moved out. His family and stuff. And so then, my senior year, I would say my junior year was the hardest because like I said, life and stuff. And my senior year, I felt like it got easier, but it still was like, I don't know, what am I gonna do? Like I still kind of was struggling with. I started struggling with my salvation because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I do with my life, my future? Like what do you want from me, God? Like I kind of started like pushing God away because I didn't know what to do. And I wasn't relying on God anymore. I started relying on myself. I got to figure out what I need to do. I do. And so I started like looking into the military, for my future, like my future career. That was my junior year when I started doing that. Like towards the end of my junior year, I was like, oh, maybe the military. I can do the military, And I was honestly really set in stone on that. I honestly thought I was. I talked to recruiters. I took the ASVAB. I was like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But then as I ended up going to boot camp. And one of my DIs, talked to me, and he was just like, I don't think you should do this. And like just the whole boot camp scenario, it, helped. It's like, wow, God's here knocking on the door. Like I can help you, figure out, your life,
Right.
but you're not opening the door. You're just saying, no, you want to do it by yourself. You want to do it by yourself. And so I, uh, I finally realized, no, the military is not for me. And people may say, oh, you got to taste the boot camp, so that's why you don't want to know. Like, it wasn't like the screaming and yelling. It was honestly the realization of that's not what God wants for you.
Right.
It's what God made known to me. Like, oh, that's not what He wants for you. And so I ended up coming back. I talked to pastor and stuff, and it helped. My senior year, it helped. I still didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like, what do I do? Go to college? Am I going to college? Or not? But
Hold on, before you go, what do you think that like what made it really hard? Like the little battle you were having, of like
no, like
as far as
the.
like should I go to military? Should I serve God? What do you think it was?
I think it was more of things going on that I was just like, why? like in my life,
like personal.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
personal issues, like with like my family and stuff, like it was more like kind of I was kind of blaming God, like, God, why, like, why is this happening to me, you know, like pretty much self-pity, like, why me, you know. I was like, are you even here, God, you know, are you listening, like.
And was that because like your family were backslidden, so you're already
Yeah, and
questioning God?
yeah, and so I was like, I have that. So whenever like my family backslid, it was mainly on like me, like honestly, it came down to, are you still gonna, you know, serve God? Because you still can, you know, everyone has a choice to, you know. And so it's gonna come down to the fact, am I gonna, you know, keep serving God? And I kept on serving God and stuff, but it was like I would ask for rides and stuff, and so it kind of just came like I felt like a burden to people, like, oh, like I have to ask for another ride again because I'm, you know, going to church and like stuff like that. So it kind of became like I was being a burden to myself. I mean, to other people, you
Right.
know, like, oh, I gotta ask and beg and stuff. And obviously, our pride is like, oh, we don't want to ask for help, you know. And so I, I, it was mainly that, you know, just, you know, asking in my pride, and just so I was just like, oh my gosh, like it was so much easier to me, like it would be so much easier if I just, you know, didn't go to church, and I would, if I just went to the military, then it would be an excuse to leave. You know, like I wouldn't have to explain to anybody like that I'm, you know, not really, that I was dealing with issues in my heart. You know, I didn't want to deal with the issues in my heart. And so it was the easiest way to leave, get out, and no one asked questions. You know, like I could just, you know, sign up for the military and dip and leave, you
Kind
know,
of start
like.
all over without anybody asking. Yeah.
Exactly. And I won't have to speak to anybody from church, you know, I won't have to deal with anybody's lecturing, or, you know, that was my mindset, you know, like I can just, it was fast, easy way to leave. And so that's the whole thing why I wanted to go to the military, and was just kind of like dealing with me, like God was like, I love you, but, you know, do you still love me? You know, it came to that point, you know, am I still gonna serve God? Do I still want to serve God, or do I just want to give up? You know, I was, yeah. So
All
that
right.
was
So let's go back to you came to the church when you were 7, right?
like 7 or 8, I believe. Yeah, but I don't remember it like
Right.
exactly, but yeah,
And so your
that's
parents
it.
were like both your parents were serving God.
No, so my mom grew up. We grew up. When my mom was a single mom. You know, it was me, well, my brother, my sister, and me, us three. And so I grew up not having a dad, like none of us. So it was just my mom taking care of us. And so um, it was just her when we first came in, and then my brother's dad, he was in prison, and then he got out, and then he got saved, and they had ended up getting married like in 2017, I believe. And so that was a couple of years later, but for a while it was just like me and my mom, you know, and well, my siblings. And so, you know, we were there serving God together, and then my mom got married and stuff, and then some other stuff started happening with them, and so I think that's why it started messing with like all kind of not, yeah, all of our salvations,
Right.
because I mean, what two parent, like if two parents are struggling, like, you know, it's gonna
Right.
mess with
Right.
the family, you know. Your parents are the foundation, you know, of your home and stuff. And so you know, it was just starting to go like a little down, it started going downhill from there, like the first year, like they were, you know, married and stuff. But um that was, yeah, in 2017, 18, you know, it was just very like there, just
Right.
stagnant, you know, it felt like. And then they ended up, some other stuff happened, so they ended up getting a divorce. And then, well, my siblings and them were still going to church and
Right.
stuff. My brother, I'm not too exactly sure if my brother was saved going on that time, but I know my sister had gotten saved like in 2018, and she was saved for a while. You know, I was like, she was on fire, you know, and then that was her when she got saved. That was her, I believe, junior or sophomore year, you know, and so then her senior year came, and I noticed she started, you know, doing her own thing. She got her car and stuff, and so she kind of pulled away from God. And so that's what, like, I was just like, dang, like what, like
Right.
It's because she was, on fire,
So you're the youngest?
Yeah, I'm the youngest out of three. It's my brother, he's like 24, and then my sister, she's 21 or 22, can't remember. And then it's me, 19.
Yeah, and I'm asking like about like your parents and all that because
Mhm.
I want to know like how when you start seeing them like all that going on with your mom and her husband and your brothers and sisters, like how that affect your salvation when you start seeing all this going on. Plus you're in church, so I wanted to know like how did that affect you and what did you start thinking about church
Mm,
period or God or anything?
yeah, yeah. Well, so whenever the whole like they started like having issues and stuff, I honestly became kind of angry again, but like bitter towards my stepdad, my mom's ex-husband. I started to become he was very angry. I was for a long time. I had to deal with that, and I just I just thought to myself like, why would you, blame game? I was blaming him for everything going wrong in my life. Like, oh, maybe if you would have been a man and stayed with your family, maybe we wouldn't be here. Maybe the family would have split up. Maybe we all been, what if.
Right.
And so I became kind of bitter, not kind of bitter. Became bitter and very angry at him and kind of at my mom too. But then pastor preached a sermon one time like talking about forgiveness and stuff, and so I did tell her, I was like, Mom, I forgive you for hurting me and stuff, and that did help. It healed my heart. But I was still angry at my stepdad because of everything. And so I I don't know. I did kind of blame God for a bit, about everything going on with my mom and stepdad. I did. I was like, God, why? Again, why? But I I don't think I did have an issue a little bit, against God, but then I, realized, that sometimes you go through things, and it's not it's literally the person. We all have free will, and so it's not God, it's people making those choices. So it was my mom and stepdad and my sister and my brother and me, those are our choices, and so you will have consequences for your choices. And so I kind of realized that, like, oh, it's not God's fault, like it's not, it's our choices. So kind of, and so I had to really, ask God for forgiveness, because, I was angry and stuff. And so I think that's whenever my mom and stepdad's marriage started like having issues, that's when my brother kind of started moving out. And so I kind of got used to him, not being there, and so I was just like, oh, okay, I was fine with it, I was like, our brother, he's older already, he's a man, he has to move out someday, and so and then I was fine with it, I was like, okay, it's whatever. I didn't honestly think twice. But then my sister, she started doing her own thing. She got her car, and so she was gone all the time, and so mainly it was just me and my mom and stuff, and so it was very hard. It was just me and my mom, and then sometimes that's whenever her salvation was getting rocky. And so it was like, come home. I would come home from school, and like we would like sometimes talk and then just go to our rooms.
Mm.
It was like a very lonely, quiet house for like a year almost, and it was just like very empty. Like I just felt empty, like kind of getting depressed because, like, I mean, you have no one to talk to. Like I still was going to church, but it was just like that's whenever like I would have started, asking, uh having to ask for more rides because my mom wasn't going, or like she wasn't feeling good, like it was just getting very hard. And so like just certain things, like she would pick me up from school. I'd be like, oh, hey mom, how was your day? And then she's just like, oh, good. And that was pretty much it for the whole ride. And not blaming her, it's just like what she was dealing with. She had to deal with what she was dealing with, and for everything, going on and stuff. But And so I wasn't. I had started, I was like, well, it's easier if I just, go hang out with people. It felt like it was easier to go hang out with people that actually wanted to be around me. And so I would go hang out with Leah and Pastor Renee, like at my best friend's house. And so I was always over there. And I just felt like loved, And so I loved being there. I love being there because it was a home, a mom or a dad, the kids there, they're, saved, happy, laughing, they spend time together. And so I I do sometimes regret it, like not being there with my mom, because then me being in my own little world, there's my mom by herself too, and so yeah, we were at home. We wouldn't really talk, but at least we were there together. And so I do regret that sometimes. It was just like, dang, I could have done things different too. I did the blame game on my mom too, but what could have I done, different or changed. So then that was, yeah, a couple of years ago and stuff. And then my sister, she had ended up getting pregnant and stuff, being out in her sin. And so she started being home more, she was home more and stuff. And then uh just other things going on. And so then recently, uh actually no, let me rewind and get back to that everywhere. Anyways, and so my sister ended up getting pregnant, and then so we were at home more and stuff, but me still, I would still go to Pastor Renee's. I was still involved. I had already made up in my mind, like, I'm gonna stay safe. No matter what, I'm gonna stay safe because I don't want to end up like my family. I don't want to end
So
up.
you're like 16, 17 around this time, all this, 15, 16?
Okay, so before my sister got pregnant, whenever like before, my sister got pregnant, I was like, yeah, 17, 16, 17. Yeah, I was like 16, 17, going on 18. Yeah, when all that stuff, kept going on. I was my late teens. And so I made up in my mind, I was like, I'm not gonna leave the church. I'm not gonna, no matter how hard things get, I'm still gonna serve God because I don't want to end up my siblings. I don't want to end up like my brother, because then my brother ended up having, like, he started having kids and stuff. And so I was like, not nothing. I was like, he had kids out of marriage,
Right, right, right,
before.
right.
It's because I don't want to. He had kids out of his first was outside of marriage, and so he, just things like that. And so I was like, I don't want to end up like my brother, like my sister, like my mom, sad, angry, whatever, the whole, miserable. I don't want to be miserable in life. And so I was like, the only way I won't be is if I stay safe,
Right.
and trust God. And so I made up in my mind that, and I think when I did that, it helped my salvation more, because it was like, okay, whatever life brings, I will still serve God because I know there is a God. And so I just kept on serving God, pushing forward no matter what. And I think that's kind of what got me through my senior year. Just keep on pushing forward, pushing forward. People would still people would be like, oh, let's go to the. I'm like, no. And then I think that's my senior year, they started understanding, like, oh, she doesn't know. And so they knew where I stood. And so I felt like my senior year got easier. I was occupied my time with softball and sports. And so it was easier. My senior year was easier, and then I graduated, and yeah, that was that was the hardest part.
Right. Tell us a little bit about like during all this time, because you're 15, you're going through all that. Tell us about like relationships you had in the church that were able to like help you out with all that.
I my like 15, 16, like my teen years. I have to say my relationship with Pastor Renee and Miss Angie and like Leah and their family really helped, and I'm so grateful for them because I believe that honestly, without their help, I probably would have not came this far. I wouldn't be here because they've helped me with so much, like so much. I can't even explain. you know, not just like picking me up, but like giving me advice, you know, showing me love, you know, showing me how a marriage should be, you know, how a wife should treat their husband, you know, how a wife should put their husband, you know, obey them, and like how a husband should treat their wife, you know, not, uh, you know, talk down or like abuse them, you know, like they showed me so much, you know, how parents should love their kids, you know, like so many things. And so I truly believe that that relationship helped, you know. And so I have to say that helped. And then many other people in the church, you know, like Pastor and Miss Sally, they've helped me with so much, you know. The ladies from church, you know, talking to them, just different people. It really helped, you know. Mainly Pastor Renee and Miss Angie. They've
Right.
helped a lot. You know, their friendship and just seeing them,
Right.
that helped me.
So how was it? Because you said it was just you and your mom. Whenever your brother, your sister left, and your mom wasn't saving no more, you were the only one saving the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so how was that? Was it just like you were saying, like you and your mom would say hi to each other, and then that's it?
We're like, yeah, it was very hard. It
Right.
was hard
And how
because
did that
like
affect your salvation? Really, that's what I want to know.
because
That everybody wasn't saved. Like for you, was it easier for like, well, I don't really have to.
no, I have to say it wasn't easy because like you see all your family, like it's literally my whole like family, the people like I've grown up with, you know, my mom, my brother, my sister, that like my close family,
Right.
you know, just to see them not do God's will anymore, like not want to, not even have the desire to. It's like, why? Like I can't understand that. I couldn't understand that. I was just like, why? And so then that's whenever I kind of started telling myself, that's when my junior year, I think, I was just like, I'll just leave. You know, it wasn't easy because I was telling myself, oh, I'll leave. To the military. Like I said, I was like that affected it in that way. You know, it was just me and my mom, and so I was like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of serving God if it's just my me and my mom? Like I feel like I'm so alone, even though I wasn't. You know, we talk ourselves down like, oh, you're alone. Or the devil talks like speaks to us, and we're like, see, you have nobody. Your family doesn't care. Your family's not going to church, but I had, even though I had, you know, I knew I had people at church, you know, like loving and care for me. It's still like the devil's like, your family's not there, you know, your family and stuff. And it's just like, that does take a toll on, at least it took a toll on me. And so I was just like, gosh, like it would be so much easier if I just left. You know, I wouldn't have to see my mom coming home, uh, drunk, or like worry about where she's at, like 3 in the morning, you know. And so it wasn't easy because sometimes, you know, she would be out, and I just like, in that moment, it kind of felt like when she was gone, it felt like I had to be the adult, you know, even though I was still, you know, 16, like that. No, I don't think any 16-year-old should have to worry where their parent is, you know, like it's just, so I think that kind of messed with my salvation, you know, having to, like, God, why? Like, I'm the kid, like, why am I having to worry about my mom? You know, like, it just was like, what? It just, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, why? And then I would ask her, and be like, I would tell her something. She'd be like, I'm a grown woman. I could do what I want. Yeah, you're a grown woman, but you got me at home. Like, I would just, oh, it would aggravate me so much. Like, I just would always ask, like, why, God, why? And so I think after all the whys, it's just like, whatever. You know, it became a whatever game. Like, I was like, oh, whatever to that, whatever to that. Like, I did not care anymore. Like, what you would do, like, what my mom would do, I'd be like, whatever. You know, if she's going to be out, that's her. You know, I don't want her calling me. If she ends up in jail again, I don't want her calling me. Don't call me. I want to be like, no, call those friends that you were getting drunk with, because do not call me. I am not your care. I am not your keeper. So no, I just was whatever to everything. And so that was like, whenever it was just me and her, it became like whatever to everything. Even my like walk with God, it was just like, you know, literally like whatever, you know, happens, you know, to my salvation. You know, it was
So
was hard.
you think you were just like that? So you want to deal with it, like everything, just like yeah, whatever, like
Yeah.
kind of just to suppress everything.
Yeah, it was just so I didn't have to deal with it. I would just be like, yeah, whatever you want to do, we'll do. Just I didn't care anymore. I was just like, okay, whatever.
Mm.
That's literally what I thought. I didn't care, and so I think I didn't care anymore because I was just so fed up with everything that had happened. Even though I knew the truth and like I knew God can help and stuff, I just didn't want to try, anymore.
Right.
Because I was just like, why should I try for people that don't even want to try for themselves? So that's where my mind was at during that salvation, during that whole time period.
Mm.
But
So fast forward to now, and you're 19,
19.
19, and so whenever you decided not to go to the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it for you that made up your mind? Like, all right, like I'm gonna serve God. What was it for you?
Um. So when I got back from boot camp, I talked to Pastor, and I just like, Pastor, like this is going on. I've been having, a whatever mentality. I was just like, I don't care about. I haven't been caring about anything. I was pushing God away. I was like, why should I love God? If all this stuff is happening to me and stuff. And He just told me, she just told me about different things, but one of the things that stuck out to me is he had said, because I was going through some other stuff and it was, it was hard, it hurt. I think it was mainly hurt that I was going through. And he had told me, he had gave me this the analogy or something, I don't know. So he had told me, he was like, a clam, for a clam to make a pearl, they have to get a grain of sand stuck in their mouth. And he's like, for the longest time, it bothers them and it hurts so bad. But after, all that hurt and pain, that clam makes something beautiful, a pearl. And so, that truly like opened my eyes, like, okay, it's going to hurt right now. It's going to hurt like so much. But in the end, it will come out to something good. It can be something wonderful, if I just deal with the hurt now. If I deal with it and stick with God, it will become something beautiful. And like, I just have to keep going, like just keep going, keep going. And so when I came back, whenever I talked to Pastor, that really opened my eyes, like, just keep going. Like, I can do this, even though this all hurts, like Pastor said, it'll become something better. And so, that helped me a lot, going through my senior year. I still didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like, oh, do I go to college? I got like so many accept accept I can't even acceptance letters, like I got accepted to Texas Tech, Kingsville, like Tarleton, like all these places, and I was just like, wow, like I was surprised because I don't know. Like, I'm smart, but like I was just surprised. My grades weren't, the greatest because, just yeah. And so I was just like, wow, maybe, maybe I should go to college. Maybe, college is for me. I was like, because I got accepted to all these places. I was just like, maybe, it's a sign. But then I, prayed about it and stuff, and I honestly, truly believe like leaving wouldn't have done me any good. Going to a different college, it would have not done me any good because I know myself. Like, I'll start getting distracted. I'll start being like, oh, I'll do that. I'll go to church, but I gotta finish this. I'll start trying to multitask and then start doing other things like, oh, start making friends. Just whenever you move away, like, or you like stop focusing on something and you start focusing on something else. So I knew like, okay, that's not what God wants from me. I'm not gonna move away. And like, I got so much like, why wouldn't you go to college? Like, from my sister and my, like, kind of my mom, not really, but just like different people would be like, why aren't you going to college? You got accepted to all these places, like that's a good school. And it's just like, yeah, like I just that's not what God wants. And they'd just be like, really? And then that would kind of mess with me more, like in my head. Like that would get me in my head, like maybe. But then I'm listening to people that are not, serving God or like not even thinking the way I think. And so it was just like, okay, yeah, let me not listen to you because you're not even.
That's
So
crazy because even if like the way you're saying that they're not going to college is not bad, right? It's not a sin, and
mm-mm.
everything they're saying is not a sin. But for you, you were like the will of God is more important than
Yeah,
going to college.
yeah, and like I mean I still plan, but not away. I like going to a community college
Right, right.
here and then like maybe a semester or two, but um I don't think going away to college was what God wanted for my life.
Right.
It's just I
Yeah,
don't
because it
think
would have been easy for you to miss church. It would have given you
exactly.
an excuse. So
Yeah.
that's wisdom right there. That's pretty
Yes.
cool. So now tell us, things that God's been doing for you in your life, things you want God to do.
hmm
Tell us about that.
Well, things he's been doing. So after graduated, um, for the longest time I couldn't find a job. I was just like, "Ugh, I need a job. I need a job. Like God, please give me a job. I need a job. And I just been like praying. I was like, I need a job that gives me like favor. Like where you want me to, that will let me, go to church and stuff. Because a lot of like jobs now, it's like, oh, you gotta work Sundays, and you don't have time, like you have to work on church days and stuff. And so I was like, God, put me in a place where you want me, and you'll use me and stuff. And so since I graduated in June, for June, July, August, in the end of September, that's when I finally found a job. So like for 4 months, I was just like, what do I do? Like, God, I need your help. I need your help. And so then come September, I had to first applied for this one job, and I honestly thought I was gonna get it, but then, anyways, I applied for the job I have now, right? And I was just honest. She asked me, "What do I have any experience?" I was like, "No, but I have dogs, blah blah." And so then she was like, "Okay, I'll let you know if you got the job or not this afternoon." So that it was on a Wednesday, and she was like, "I'll let you know in the afternoon." And so then she texted me, and she was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, you got the job and
Hmm.
stuff like that." And I was just like, "Yes, finally!" I was just grateful that I got a job. And then as time went on, I was just like, you know, God put me exactly where He wanted me to be, because she gives me the Wednesdays afternoons, Sundays. If for this past revival we had, she I asked her if I can have morning shifts so I can go to night, and she was like, yes, of course. Like I have so much favor here. She's such a good boss. She's works with me and stuff, and the only way I can say I have that is because God,
Yeah, that's
Jesus
right.
gave that
That's
to
right.
me, because who knows, that other job I was applying for was like, oh, you kind of have to work Sundays, every other Sunday. And I was just like, okay, I guess. But, here at this past job, actually, I was able to also witness to this girl, my coworker. I've been praying to, like, God, please, you put me here, for a reason. Open a door somehow, some way, open a door so I can talk to these people, my coworkers and stuff. And so this past week I was able to witness to one of my coworkers, and it was just very like it was very natural. Like we were just talking, and then just somehow she had said some stuff, and I was just like, oh yeah, well, Jesus, I got to bring it into the conversation and stuff. And so I was just like, thank you, God. This is confirmation. This is where you want me to be. You gave me this job that gives me the time, and then I'm being able to witness to people and stuff. And so that's like right now. And yeah, so right now. So what was your other question?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, what is it like that you want God to do later on, or even things He was doing in your life right now,
Um, Later on,
right? Things you want to see.
things I want to see.
friends, saved, family members coming back.
Oh
Yeah, of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
All
yeah,
that.
yeah. For sure. I I truly believe that my family will get saved again.
Right.
I do. I feel like God is dealing with my mom. You know, I've been able to talk to my mom and tell her. Um, I feel like if my mom were to change her ways, it would help impact my siblings. Because if she truly was like, okay, I'm done, then they would see that and they would be like, wow, mom's actually changing. She's not gonna, I feel like if they were to see that, they would get saved too. So, but I do believe that God has been dealing with my mom recently. Just things she has told me and stuff, and I've been able to be like, well, mom, if you wouldn't have to worry if you just were saved.
Right, right.
You would be okay. Like I just sometimes don't understand. Like you're gonna have to struggle through this. If you were just saved. It's not easy, but God will help you. So I do believe that God is gonna save her soon.
Right,
So that's one of the things I want to see. I think I will see soon,
right.
and so I just keep praying for that. Um, what else? Um,
What did your brothers and sisters say? Like, cause they haven't been saved for a little while now, right? And then
mhm.
you remain saved. So what do they? How's your relationship? You talk to them. What do they
Yeah,
think?
I mean, my sister does have, her own like she doesn't they don't tell me things bad about church,
Right,
because they'll
right.
know I'll defend it. Like don't even talk, don't even like because you're wrong, so they won't tell me like bad things about the church, but just like little comments they say like my sister sometimes would be like, "Oh, let's do this." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I can't. I have church." Or like, "Oh, can you do this for me?" But I'm like, "Sorry, I can't. I have prayer." And so I'm like, they're just like, "Okay, whatever." They're just the whatever. Like, seriously, you again with church. So I mean, they don't really say. Well, that's mainly my sister, but my brother, he doesn't really say much. He's respectful. I still talk to him. Still joke around and stuff. He's not, but it's. I feel like he has his own issues. All of them do, but
It's like
know
they know, but they don't like. They know they have to be saved, but they just don't want to be saved.
they don't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
right,
I
right.
just for the longest time I was just like, why, like why? That doesn't even make sense. Like just because like my brother and his wife, like they don't smoke or like drink. They don't party. And so I'm like, why don't you just get saved?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
even party. So what's the reason? Just because you don't want to make stands and actually go to church and
Right,
stuff?
right,
Like
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why people do it because they don't want to, like you're saying, they don't want to make stand. They don't want to commit to things, so they just like it's easier.
Yeah.
And really, what I think is, I feel like some people they feel like, well, I know of God, and I should be all right, just even doing that.
Yeah.
So,
I, yeah. I feel like my brother. He doesn't really. He knows he's wrong.
right.
He knows he's wrong, and so I don't really push it to on him too much because he's a grown man. Like you're a grown man. You can make your own choices. You know what's right and wrong. You know how you should live. And I'm like, I'm grateful for him. He's been a very big blessing. Him and his wife. Whenever things were going on with me and my mom, they did help me with so much. Even going to church, like even though sometimes they wouldn't go, they would still drop me off. So like they were still, they're still a blessing to me. But it's just, I don't know, like why? Why don't you get saved? I
Right,
don't
right.
know. Uh,
Oh. Well, before we go, I want you to like just share, some words of encouragement for anybody who has gone through things that you've gone through or going through them right now. Uh, Maybe they're not in that situation, but what are some words you'll leave people who are watching?
I have to say, if you're going through, life and you feel like, oh my gosh, it's the same old, or like I have like depression or like anger, it's not worth, it's not worth it, going to hell for. And you may think like, well, I'm a good person. I thought I was a good person, but even though you're a good person doesn't mean you're not going to go to hell. Like, you have to, repent and stuff. So, but, just know there is, hope. For the longest time, I was just like, oh, whatever, but then I realized, there's hope, there's God that loves me and he loves you. And so just keep on fighting for your salvation. If you're going through something, I can tell you right now, just keep pushing through it. Things will get better. You just have to keep on telling yourself, I'm gonna be better. I will, wake up and ask God for help every day, each day, and trust He will help you, and things will get better. Just don't give up, because that's the worst thing you can do is give up and just throw in the towel. Like, I have to say that's one of the things that I've realized I do not want to do is, give up, because I've seen what it does, the outcome. And you may think, oh, I'm not giving up, I'm just trying new things. No, in the end, you're giving up. You're giving up on God, you're giving up on yourself, because you don't want to keep trying. So just keep trying and keep pushing, because God can help you, because He's helped, so many testimonies, you've heard, He can help you. It's just if you want Him to, if you allow Him to. And so, yeah, give your life to Jesus, and He can help you, and He will continue to help you. Just keep serving.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to give your life to Jesus Christ, just pray this simple prayer with me real quick. Say, Father God, I'm a sinner in need of a Savior. I ask that you forgive me of all my sin. Come into my heart and be my Lord and Savior. I believe you died on the cross and rose the third day. Thank you for forgiving me of all my sin. If you prayed that prayer and you need a church to go to, come in, that number on the bottom of the screen, come in contact with us, and we'll help you find a local church to go to and start living for God. Thank you.
Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Got 2 lanes on the one way. Heaven or hell coming someday. Talk that talk. 2 planes on the runway. 2 destinations. Heaven or hell. They taking off someday. Could be Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday. So get saved before that one day. Listen to that one way show. Yeah.